Escape from Tarkov is a hardcore and realistic online first-person action RPG simulator with MMO features and a story-driven walkthrough. With each passing day, the situation in the Novinsk region grows more and more complicated. Incessant warfare in Tarkov has sparked massive panic. The local population has fled the city, but those who stayed are looking to improve their fortunes at the expense of others. Having accepted the new reality, savage Tarkov locals, or scavs, flocked into well-armed gangs and started the redivision of the city. Nowadays, Tarkov is separated by unseen borders, controlled by different groups. Gain-greedy gunmen would go to any length to have their way, including the murder of civilians and direct confrontation with two private military companies. The players will have to experience living in the skin of one of the mercenaries who survived the initial stage of the Tarkov conflict. After choosing one of the sides, USEC or Bear, the player's character starts to make his way out of the city. Tarkov is sealed off by UN and Russian military, supply chains are cut, communication with operational command is lost, and in these conditions everyone has to make his own choices of what to do and how to get out of the chaos-ridden metropolis. The events of Escape from Tarkov take place in the fictional Novinsk region special economic zone that became a gateway between Russia and Europe. Preferential conditions for large international companies, however, have not only attracted law-abiding businesses but corporations of dubious intent as well. In Tarkov, one of the largest cities of the region, a transatlantic corporation became the ground zero of a political scandal. 6 months later, the political standoff escalated into an armed conflict involving UN peacekeepers, international troops of the Ministry of International Affairs, and two private military companies. The region's borders were sealed off, and those trapped in the middle of this local warfare flare-up were isolated from the outside world. Now that you understand a little bit about what the world is and why you're here, let's start to talk about a little bit about what you will do and what you'll find in Escape from Tarkov. So the first thing that I think I need to let you guys know about is just the world itself, just the sheer scale of the maps that you're in. Now, disclaimer alert, this is a simulation, so therefore there's no map, there's no compass, there's nothing that tells you where you're going. Yes, you can pick up a compass as you go and that will eventually help you work out which way north is, but there's no map in the game. You can pick up maps that you can use in the game, but it's not like a mini-map or any way to actually tell you where you are. So one of the key things with Escape from Tarkov is you need to learn the map you're in. You need to learn what the forest looks like, you need to learn what the buildings look like, and only then, once you start to learn the world, are you going to be able to walk around freely without feeling lost. The world is daunting for any new player that walks in. It's very hard to know where to go. Very hard to know what dangers you're going to face. So every time you step into the world as a new player of Tarkov, you need to learn and absorb your surroundings, because without doing that, you're not going to know where you are. It's one of those games that realistically, it'd be nice if they had some sort of in-game map that you could refer to easily, just so you can get your bearings, but they really are going for that hardcore survival simulation style game. So there's no hand-holding here. Once you drop in, that's it. You have to work it out for yourself. Now, I do highly recommend that if you haven't played Escape from Tarkov before, and this video is the one that's going to make you decide whether you play it or not, go and have a look, and I'll give you a couple of links for where you can go and find maps for the game. There's a few around, and if you have Discord, there's a bot you can actually put in your Discord server to help you with maps. I highly suggest before you jump in, you go and examine some of these maps, download a few of them, because if you don't, what you're going to have is this sense of feeling completely lost, and you have to escape from the map that you're in. There's a certain amount of time you have, so if you don't know where the extractions are, you're going to have a bad time of it. So realistically, you need to check some of this stuff out before you start playing. Don't make the mistake I did and just think that I'll go and buy this game and I'll play it and I'll have a good old time, because I found out very quickly once I was in the game, holy crap, I don't know where the hell I am and how I'm meant to find this out. So do yourself a favour and do the research first, because the world itself, while beautiful and dangerous, it's very big and you will get lost very quickly. Now, the next thing to chat about is the health system. And boy, what a doozy. This health system is, I'd want to say it's like others in any other game, but they've tailored this around their game. There's health systems in other games which might have some of the complexity or detail that you'll find here in Escape from Tarkov, but really what these guys have done in Escape from Tarkov is given you a health system that you actually have to think about. Little things will hurt you. If you step off a ledge, it's a little bit too high and you land the wrong way, you're going to break your leg. Now, what's that going to do? It's going to slow you down majorly, and you're going to be making noise that other people can hear. And you don't want that, because if another player can hear you, well, they're coming for you. Believe me, I've got friends that do exactly that. They hear something and they're running straight for it. So you want to be mindful of that. If you get shot by a bullet in the arm and it hits you in exactly the right spot in your arm, that bullet will break your arm. Now, I've never been shot in real life, touch wood, but I imagine that if I was to be shot in real life by a bullet, it would break my arm. That's just what happens. Now, thankfully, the virtual gods of Escape from Tarkov allow you to put a splint on your arm and fix that fracture lickety-split, pop a couple of painkillers and get right back in the action. Now, while that's not necessarily realistic, a lot of the other things that do happen are, you can get concussion, you can get bleeding, heavy or light, and depending on how much bleeding you have, depends on the type of health item you need to actually fix that bleeding. So, it's not a matter of, I've been shot, I'm going to just take some cover and go and get this guy. No. If you've been shot, you need to understand what's just happened to you and see if you can continue fighting. Because if you've been hit really well, you may need to consider healing up very quickly before the enemy comes around the corner. Because if you don't, you may not be able to aim properly, or you may not be able to run towards them. So you need to take care of that shot. Now, some of you might be thinking that sounds really bad, but honestly, it gives you a sense of, I can't just run in being Rambo. Now, yes, there are things you can wear like bulletproof vests and armoured rigs that do help take damage away from you, especially ballistic helmets. But at the end of the day, if you take a bullet to the mouth, or to the nose, to the eyes, it doesn't really matter what else you were wearing, you're going to die. Just because you're wearing armoured stuff doesn't actually mean that your whole body has armour. You could be wearing the highest level armoured rig, and that's fantastic. If you're not wearing a helmet, a headshot is a headshot. Doesn't matter about your body armour. So you need to be mindful of snipers, because that's what they do, they go for your head. So you need to be mindful of what helmet you're wearing. There's a few different styles in Tarkov, from cheap level 1 penis helmets, as we like to call them, or some of the more geared Chad helmets that you might find out in the world. Something to protect your head against ricochet chance is really what you're going to want, so helmets are a good thing. Now, something that you may or may not think about is food and water, because there's obviously already a substantial health system. Surely food and water are part of that? Not necessarily. Now, as we know, in most survival type games, you've got to stay hydrated and eat, otherwise you can start to lose health. Now, in Escape from Tarkov, when you get hurt by a bullet or anything else, your health and your energy and your hydration all play a key together. Now, if you've been seriously injured, you become very thirsty. You need to be hydrated, because that's generally what happens if you're hurt. Your body craves these sort of things to help regenerate themselves. So what you have to be mindful of is what your hydration and your energy levels are doing. Now, even if you're not being shot and you're running around in Tarkov, you need to be mindful of what these things are doing, because just running around will dehydrate you and you need to drink. And if you don't, let me tell you, you're going to be in a pretty bad place if you're dehydrated and you're trying to get to an exit, because you're not just going to find, any water lying around. You have to be lucky to find some if it's in the right spot at the right time. And especially if you're hurt and you're trying to make your way out without any hydration, well, you're just going to have a bad time. So you've really got to be mindful of that. Now, some players, what they do is they'll take in all necessary health items, food and drink to help them in their raid, so that if they don't find any, they've got some to rely on. Now, the guns and the customization options, I've got to tell you, they really have put a lot of effort into this aspect of the game. The customization for the guns, the detail of the guns. I mean, the detail of the guns, depending on how high you've set your graphic settings, I mean, the world can look good or look bad depending on what you've got that set to, but they've actually spent a lot of time emphasizing the detail of the guns. Now, I'll give you a couple of examples on screen now of how the guns actually look. Now, the detail that they've put into just the gun models, is phenomenal. I mean, I don't know any other game where they've spent this much time making just the gun models look good. And look, let's be honest, when you're playing Escape from Tarkov, you don't see your body, but you do see your gun. The gun is the primary selling point of what you're seeing as you're walking around. Yes, you might see other players, but they're normally at a distance and they're normally behind flashes of gunpowder that's expelling bullets out of their chamber towards you, so you're not exactly looking to see how detailed the enemy's eyeglasses look because you're worried about dodging that bullet. So the gun detail, it really is the selling feature for what the player is looking at 99% of the time. Yes, the world is there in the background, but the gun and its detail is what you see on the screen all the time. And while you may not be necessarily looking at the gun, it's actually nice to know that they're putting in that level of detail so that just in the corner of your eye, you're not just holding some poorly rendered 3D model, you're holding something that's actually had some thought put into it, which I've got to say is very, very nice. Now, mobility. This is a thing that is a key feature of the game and is evolving as the game is developed. Now, it's not like Call of Duty where you can sprint forever and run into a slide and go across anything you like and crouch and move around instantly. The heavier you are in Tarkov, meaning the more things you pick up or the more hurt you are, the more your mobility is going to be affected. You're going to slow down. You're not going to be able to stop running as quickly. You won't be able to jump as high or move or sprint for that long, to be perfectly honest, and the heavier you are, the more noise you make. I mean, mobility is a big thing in any sort of game, but if you can't move or can't dodge or can't hide, well, you may as well just put your hands up and let the enemy shoot you because, mate, if you can't hide, they're definitely coming from you. Now, something that people might be wondering is, okay, so we do know that Escape from Tarkov, when you die, you lose everything. That's right, you lose everything. Sorry that I didn't say that before, but yes, when you die, you drop the lot. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, geez, I'm a new player. I can't go in just losing my gear to everybody else who knows how to play. No, that's right. You probably can't afford to do that. But don't worry, because there is a way to actually get back gear that you can use on your main PMC character. You can play as the scavenger or the AI characters. Now, when you load in as a scav, anything that you find while in raid, you don't actually lose. All of the stuff that you find on a scav while you're out hunting around, if you manage to get your scav out, all of that equipment can be transferred into your stash and used on your main character. So you might be thinking, well, I don't really want to use this gun that I found on my last scav run because, geez, how cool is that? That is a perfectly reasonable fear. And something that a lot of people suffer from in Tarkov is the fear of losing their gear, or gear fear. Now, any gear that you pick up, it's not doing you any good sitting in your inventory. You need to use it. So if you do happen to pick up something on a scav run, whether it be helmets or gear or whatever it might be, put it aside in your stash, make a little corner somewhere and start to put together a little loadout that you can take in and you can lose. Because guess what? It didn't cost you anything to find this stuff in the raid as a scav, and you can always go and do it again. So if it's in your stash, it's pointless. Use it. Scav runs are a really good way to get free gear. Now, some people will spend a day doing nothing but scav runs. Now, just be mindful, you can't just do scav run after scav run after scav run. There is a cooldown timer. Once your scav comes back from a run, you can't use your scav again for, well, it depends. 19 minutes I think is about the maximum, but the more you upgrade your hideout, which I'll get to, you can then take your scav in quicker. So depending on your reputation as well, depends how quickly your scav can go in or not. So if you don't want to risk losing too much gear off the bat, go in with the scav, get a feel for some of the maps before taking your PMC in. Now, the other feature of the game is obviously the hideout. Now, the hideout is something that's really cool. It's a feature that doesn't really do a lot as far as the actual gameplay itself, but there are a lot of features to the hideout. Now, you can upgrade your hideout and you can invest in that by going and finding things in the world to improve what's in your hideout and build it up. And that will do things like allow you to farm Bitcoin so that you've got currency to trade. It will allow you to bring your scav in sooner by lowering the cooldown by the upgrades you put into your hideout. There are many things within your hideout you can do that will help your progress. You can increase your food and production creation, which means you can actually make your own food and water in your hideout. You can have things that help with regenerating your health. There's a number of things that you can do with your hideout to help your character as you unlock them. Now, the only reason that I'm not going to go into too much detail is because to unlock your hideout and to upgrade some of the components in your hideout do take a fair bit of time, and the sad reality is a lot of people who try Tarkov probably won't ever get to actually upgrade their stash, their hideout, because it can take a lot of time and the grind can be very disheartening, and you can, get pushed around a fair bit. So once you get into the game, you can have a look at the hideout for yourself and you can really get into the nitty-gritty, but it is something that a lot of people do enjoy playing with. Now, something else that we need to touch on is the cost of the game. Now, the game itself isn't cheap. A lot of people might think that, okay, I'll just buy this game and I'll have a bit of a play, no dramas. Well, if you have a look at the price tags, well, that might shock you. I'll give you a couple of examples here on the screen of what you're going to pay. Now, there are different perks for what you'll pay for the game, and you can go to their website and have a look and decide if you want to pay the price tag. And if you're someone who enjoys these sorts of games, then by all means, pay the price. I did. I bought the biggest pack because I wanted that extra big stash to take in with me in raids. So once you've decided that you're going to lash out and buy the game, then hey, make sure you pick what you want, and you can get the larger pack later on. So if you feel you want to just get into the game and buy the smaller pack, you can do that, and then you can upgrade to the larger pack later on, and there's no detriment. You don't pay an additional amount of money, you just pay the remainder to actually upgrade your account. Now, there's also in the game traders where you can go and trade your equipment, sell things to. There's an auction house, but all of that stuff is really something that is hard to explain until you get into the game to understand. A lot of the different NPCs that are there will give you tasks which are part of the story-driven campaign that you get to play. And with those different tasks, you'll get different rewards, and once you get the rewards, hey, they're good things. They're guns, they're first aid kits or money, and you get to unlock different things. Once you get to a high enough level, you'll get to unlock the auction house, and once the auction house is unlocked, that's where a lot of players say that Tarkov really comes into its own. Now, into some of the pros and cons to help you decide whether or not you want to jump into this game. Now, the first thing is I can't speak highly enough of the world. The world really is beautiful. It's quite a nice world, and there's a lot of attention to detail, especially the guns, so I can't fault them on making a truly visually stunning place. It really is such a nice world. The gun customization is epic, the detail in the guns, they've really done well with making you feel like you're actually holding a real weapon, from the way they act and jam and the sounds. They've really done a great job with the guns. The game will give you a rush when you outplay other players or you survive through an AI scav rogue battle. Once you've actually defeated them and looted their equipment, the rush, it is unlike no other, because you know what's on the line. So if you're looking for an adrenaline-fueled gaming experience, this one definitely can be it. And it's very rewarding. When you get out with a really good loadout and you've made away with a bucket load of loot, it feels so good to know that you've gotten out. So I can't say enough about how good the game feels when you actually get out with a bag full of stuff. The rewards are just so high. But if we now move into the cons, you'll start to understand that the game can be very frustrating. Now, the level grind can be quite hard, as any XP that you might have earned in a raid, if you die, you don't get it. Any missions that you try and complete, even if you've completed objectives, if you die and don't get out, you have to go back in and do it again. So as far as getting up to those higher levels and getting access to the higher level merchants and auction house, very difficult, because if you die, well, you got to go and do it all over again. So don't expect that you're going to just walk in and level up very easily. It can be quite difficult to get those levels, and trust me, I know this. The loss is brutal. Now, when you come in and you've got some gear that you really want to try, or maybe you've had a really good raid and have picked up lots of stuff, when you die, you really feel it. You almost feel like someone shot you in your stomach. The loss it's undescribable. The fact that you know you've just lost everything can really hurt. Unless you've insured your gear, but even then it's not guaranteed to get any of it back if players decide to take it out with them. The learning curve is very steep. Understanding how to keep yourself healed, understanding the mechanics of the guns, understanding the map and where to go, and knowing how to fight back against other players will take you a long time and will just add to how brutal the loss will feel. So the learning curve is something that you need to be prepared for, but don't say I didn't warn you about it, but you can get past it and it can get better, but don't be disheartened straight away. And the price. The price is almost as brutal as dying in game. I don't know why they thought the game was going to be worth this much money while it's being developed. Maybe on full release, once everything they want to have is in the game, but they're charging you that now. And honestly, I don't know how they can get away with it, but hey, if you want to play it, you got to pay it. And the only other con about the game is issues that they're having at the moment with optimization. The game really isn't optimized very well, and a lot of people have trouble with memory leaks and the game just not running smoothly and getting low FPS. Now there are of course things you can do to tweak all of these, but hey, just letting you know off the bat that as for good as it looks, and a lot of other videos that you might see on YouTube that show how stunning it is, trust me, like everyone in Escape from Tarkov, there will be moments where you'll load in and you'll think to yourself, is this really running as smooth as it could? You will need to tweak it, and there's plenty of videos on YouTube about doing that, so hey look, don't discard it straight away, but just be warned. So to wrap things up, should I or shouldn't I buy Escape from Tarkov? Now if you've got the money to spare, absolutely you should. If you're a student or you're someone who maybe doesn't quite have the money to throw around on a game like this, hey look, keep your money, only because of the fact that the learning curve and how brutal the game can be will really dishearten you and you might think you've wasted your money. So if you've got the spare cash, absolutely. If you like these kind of games, definitely give it a go. The only reason I say hold on to your money is only because I know how tight money can be, COVID's hurt the world, and there's a lot of people suffering right now. So while you might be looking for that really fun game to jump into, and while this can be a lot of fun, you can feel like you've spent a lot of money on something that just beats you around like a 6 foot tall guy beating up that guy that's only 4'11". So just keep that in mind. But overall, yes, absolutely, Escape from Tarkov is a really fun game and something that if you can get into, it's worth trying. But please remember, it is more of a simulation game and it's not like Call of Duty. So don't think you're going to just jump in and shoot for hours and have a lot of fun. Now, all that being said, feel free to drop a comment below. Tell me what you think of Escape from Tarkov. Is it your first time playing it? Have you been playing for a long time? I want to know. I want to see what you guys think. And of course, don't forget to hit that notification bell, subscribe, and like the video. I only ask because it helps the channel out a lot, and it helps me to bring you more content. So again, thanks very much for watching, and I'll find you somewhere in the woods. Peace.